Hühnerfrikassee, that's basically the German version of your chicken pot pie. We eat it either with rice, potatoes, or with this puff pastry shells. I have different ways to make it, but I'll show you one of my foolproof ways today. So let's quickly run through the ingredients. I have some chicken breast here. I have some frozen peas. I have mushrooms in a can. I usually take fresh mushrooms and fry them in butter, but since I didn't want to drag out this whole video like forever, I decided to use some canned mushrooms this time. I also use some asparagus, and there's a weird obsession in Germany about this white asparagus, so that's why I take the white one. You can as well use a green one, that's really totally up to you. I honestly don't know what this asparagus obsession in Germany is about. I never got the sense of it. However, I'm using some of this, and I also have 25 gram of butter and 30 gram of flour, which I will use later to make a roll. I also have 2 egg yolks. I squeeze some lemon juice. I have salt, pepper for the taste, and so I'm using white wine vinegar. If you don't have kids at your table, you can use just a regular white wine. I also have some Worcestershire sauce for the taste, yeah. So, and I usually would use some cream at the very end to smooth the sauce. Unfortunately, it seems that someone used up our cream, so I had to switch to some sour cream, but usually I would use some just regular sweet cream. So I have some chicken breasts here, and they're probably a little bit too much. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use it all. It depends on how much I have to cut away. I don't always use chicken breasts. Sometimes we have just a fried chicken here and we have some leftovers. Then I just use the meat from the chicken and pull it off and later put it into the sauce. Since I don't have a fried chicken here right now, I'm using this instead. You can also just boil a whole chicken in some soup vegetables, and then use this chicken meat for your Hühnerfrikassee. However, that's an additional step. It's unnecessary work. I think so, at least, and so that's why I usually, if I don't have a fried chicken left over, I just use the chicken breasts that I can buy and fry. I cook them. I don't fry them. I cook them in some broth, and that works just fantastic. And it's easier, and the meat tastes better too. So let's see. I will cube this in about, well, let's say 1/2 inch times 1/2 inch sized cubes, and there's some stuff I don't want to have in my Hühnerfrikassee, so I cut that off. And I don't want these pieces to be too large. I don't want to cook it forever. Right. Yeah, I think I can leave it like this. And so this is for like 4 portions. And I make this quite often. So I also freeze it sometimes for later if I'm out of town and I want the kids to eat something healthy, because otherwise my husband would just make burgers maybe. Which don't really keep them from making the burgers anyway, so just to be honest about that. They don't always listen to me. Okay. Okay, so let's set this aside. You can see I didn't use all of the meat. I will leave the other piece for something else. Now I take the asparagus out of the glass. I already drained it, well, mostly, and I want these to be smaller pieces so that they're like bite size. Okay, I'm gonna leave the tips like that. And yes, that's basically all I have to prepare, and I will move over to the stove and show you how I do the rest of it. So another ingredient that I didn't mention before is the chicken broth. So I brought a pot of chicken broth to a boil, and I will now put the chicken in there to boil. Okay. And I will increase the heat a little bit so it comes back to a boil. Alright, I switched the boiling meat to the other place here so I can prepare the roe. And I start with melting the 25 grams of butter. It's already hot. Okay. And then I sprinkle the butter on top, the flour, not the butter, sorry. And I stir this. See if I can add a little more. Okay. And then I add some of the broth from the other pot. And I slowly add it to this pot here. Okay, and I switch my tool to a whisker. And I continue to add some more of the broth and to whisk it so I don't have any lumps. You've seen me doing this before in other recipes. So overall I add about 2 cups of the broth to this roe. That's 500 milliliters. Okay, I will reduce the heat here a little bit to slow the process. And I think the other one should be a little more hot so it's boiling. Right now it's not boiling anymore. So you can see this is already nice and smooth as I like it. And I just keep adding more of the broth here. Let's give it one more. Okay, so I let this boil now for 5 minutes, and then I will be back with the additional steps. This boiled for 5 minutes now. I stirred it in between every now and then. So now it's time to add the asparagus and the mushrooms. And the frozen peas are not really part of the original recipe, but I think this food needs a little bit of color, and that's why I always add some peas to it. And now it's time to get the chicken into this. So I just switch it from one pot to the other. I can also turn off the heat of this pot. And as you can see, this is quite a lot of meat. So it's good I didn't use all 3 of the chicken breasts. That would have been way too much. Okay, let's give it a quick stir. And I again let it boil a little bit so that the asparagus and the mushrooms and the peas get hot and cooked. And then I will spice it. So this came back to a boil quite nicely. And now you can either add 4 tablespoons of white wine, sorry, or a little bit of white wine vinegar, which I will do. And I'm not too crazy about it, so I'm a little bit careful. And the acid in vinegar and also in lemon juice enhances the flavor of a meal. So that's why I put this in here. I also add a tablespoon of lemon juice. I might add a little more later, let's see. And I also add the sugar, that's a teaspoon of sugar. And some pepper. So we'll see about the salt a little later. Since there is salt in the broth, I wait until I have tasted it. And I also add some Worcestershire sauce. And honestly, if you don't have that, don't worry. It tastes even without it. You don't have to buy it for it. So let's see how this tastes. Very good. Very delicious. It needs more salt. Just like that. Let's see. Let me try if that was enough. Yes. Oh my god, that is so delicious. That's really good. I could stop here now, but I want to show you what we call legieren. So I have 2 egg yolks here, and this adds a little bit to the texture, but also to the color of this meal. And you see, I would usually add some of the cream that I don't have. I can't really use the sour cream for that. So the point of the cream is that it keeps the egg yolks from, you know, becoming some sort of scrambled eggs. But I can also just take some of the sauce and add it here. So not all at once, just a little bit. So it basically gets a little more of the temperature of the food here. And that's how I learned it at cooking school. Okay. And now I carefully put it into my sauce. And I stir it while doing that. Let's just make sure that's warm enough in here. Yeah, turn off the heat of the pot. And this also, you see, has a much nicer color now. All right, so I could add some sour cream to it, but since I was using the vinegar, I feel like it's sour enough. I don't want it, you know, to overdo it. I think it has just the right taste and it's ready to serve now. If you like this video, I would be happy about your comments, about your thumbs up, about your shares, about your yeah, everything that communicates with me. I will be happy to answer questions like always. Leave me a comment, like this video, and I hope I'll see you back with my next recipe.